Great news! There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price, and it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 on the Friday before Conference Championship Sunday in the NFL, the single greatest day of the entire NFL year. The day before, as we like to call it around these parts. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We've got Jeff Darlington coming up in just a little bit.
We have our picks coming up. Last week, we had 4 games to pick. You and I picked how many of the exact same?
I think 3 out of the 4.
No,
right?
all 4.
We were all 4. Yeah.
We have 2 games to pick today. We'll see where that one leads us.
Yeah, how did we do last week? We were
2-2.
2-2?
2-2 both weekends.
Treading water.
Yeah, we are.
We are treading water.
You know what? Yeah. We're treading, though.
That's exactly right. So this will be our make or break weekend.
Yes, it will.
Jeff Darlington is in Jacksonville with the Jags. He'll join us in just a little bit. Fights coming up this weekend. Teddy Atlas will also stand by. We are also waiting for Bill Belichick to speak words. Maybe he will, and more likely he won't, illuminate us on what exactly is going on with Tom Brady's right hand. Why is he wearing the glove? Why hasn't he practiced all week? Why has he avoided media responsibility for 2 straight days? So we'll get into all of that. We also ask you to put out there your Grill Golic questions. Right. Call in at 860-506-5505 and leave your Grill Golic questions there. You want to do some of those?
We can do some of those, absolutely.
Do you want to do... you want to do this first?
Let's mention this, yeah. Well, we had the All-Star game. The starters were selected in the NBA. The 2 top vote getters in each conference are the captains. That would be LeBron James and Steph Curry. So they'll get to now pick schoolyard style. But again, it won't be public. It won't be on TV. So to me, it's a waste. It just is.
Yeah, we went through that. You're right. It would have been much more interesting. Just embrace it.
That's exactly right. Like the NHL did from 2011 to 2015.
And it was awesome to watch.
But one of the sidebars here, Joel Embiid, who is a lot of fun. He's a great player, and he is right in the social media world.
He is the best troll in the NBA
Back in 2014, he was saying of trying to get with this famous girl, and she said, "Come back to me when you're an all-star." This is in 2014. The girl was believed to be Rihanna. Okay, so now we made his first all-star game. Oh, there you go.
Little Rihanna, there we go.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So what happens now? He's an all-star. Yeah. So
what do you think?
You can hit her back up on Twitter and say, you know what, I'm an all-star now.
And what did he say about that?
He said, nope, she denied me back then. There's no reason to go back to her.
No reason to go back. All right.
Well, it seems like he was never there, though, in the first place to say to go back.
You can't go back to someplace you haven't been.
So Rihanna shut him down a couple of years ago, and now he
is returning the favor?
Well, I don't know.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Maybe.
Kind of.
Sort of.
First 76ers starter voted into the All-Star game since Allen Iverson.
Absolutely.
Pretty impressive. But nice little side story there with Joel Embiid.
You know what? At least we know one thing about Joel. He holds a grudge.
Yes, he
holds a grudge. You know who else really likes Rihanna?
Who's that?
That's our Florida man about town, ESPN NFL reporter Jeff Darlington.
You don't really know if he likes Rihanna.
I'm going to go out on a strong limb and say Jeff Darlington is very pro Rihanna. So let's bring him in on the Shell Pennzoil performance. Oh, he's on camera. All right, Ooh. Jeff. So am I right?
Yeah.
Did I tag you as a pro Rihanna guy?
What to make of that? I don't know what to make of that, Trey. I mean, I would enjoy a Rihanna tune once in a while, but I really don't know where you're going with that.
I'm just saying you're probably a fan of her music, of her work. Fan. You celebrate the entire collection.
Yeah. I celebrate the entire collection. That's right.
Okay. So but that's not why we have you on, Jeff. As much as we love you, Florida man, you are here because you're dealing with a Florida team that is in the AFC Championship game for the first time this century. The last time we were there was the 99 season. So, look, they have talked. I mean, Jalen Ramsey went out there at that rally and said, we're going to win it again. We're going to then win the next week, which he mistakenly didn't understand was the Pro Bowl. He meant the week after that, which would be the Super Bowl. So being around this team this week, as you've been, how would you assess their mental confidence going into this game?
The confidence is high, Trey, but also the demeanor is very relaxed. In fact, I don't want to blow this thing out of the water or anything, but in 2008, I remember covering the Giants when they were preparing for the Patriots for that big Super Bowl. Was it 2007 or 2008? In that week leading up to the Super Bowl, you sensed a team that was very relaxed, that felt confident about what they could do on defense. That's what this reminds me of, to be completely frank. I just sense a vibe in that locker room. Even Doug Marrone, who's not necessarily known for being like this relaxed, lighthearted guy, just feels pretty calm. So whether that translates to the field, whether that matters at all, I don't know. But this is a team that does not feel like this moment is too big for them at all.
What kind of talk down there, if any, has there been about Tom Brady and the hand injury?
Mostly lighthearted, again. Mostly guys joking. Doug Marrone said if he can't throw with his right, he'll throw with his left. I think this is a group behind the scenes. They're saying that if we can find a vulnerability in Tom Brady, great. When I was in the locker room talking to Miles Jack, he said we need to make sure that we're in the backfield, making him feel our presence every time. Even if we don't get the pressure that we want on him, we need to let him know that we were close. Every single time we want to be in Tom Brady's head. And by the way, that also reminds me of a little bit of a Tom Coughlin school of thinking there. Just make sure you get to Tom Brady every chance you can.
Jeff Darlington with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Look, yeah, they had that NASCAR package where they got after him with all those guys that could rush the quarterback. Now, when they beat him the first time in 2007, the Patriots' offensive line was a little banged up. And quite frankly, Brady was banged up in that game. Remember, he had the walking boot on after beating the Chargers in the AFC Championship game, and he's been a little banged up this season with the sore Achilles and now the hand. But the question then becomes, all those things are true, but at some point you have to make the plays to beat the Patriots. And if you're doing that, Jeff, it's not only slowing down Tom Brady, it's slowing down Gronk. Everyone says they have a plan for the ultimate mismatch on offense, the Patriots tight end, who I think is making the case that he's going to be the greatest tight end the NFL has ever seen. How do the Jacksonville Jaguars plan on slowing him down?
It's interesting when you talk to people around the building, everybody's sort of got their own opinion. This is totally just kind of speculation of different people within the organization, kind of like maybe we should put Jalen Ramsey up on him, just use our best shutdown corner, see what he can do. AJ Bouye, like where do they want to go? Where do they want to create that matchup? The only fear there that I think that the coaching staff has is sometimes when the Patriots drive you out of your lane a little bit and make you do things that are a little too creative, that's where you get yourself into more trouble. They understand how important it is to stop Rob Gronkowski, but I think this is also a team, a coaching staff as they game plan that wants to make sure that they don't forget about the other guys on the field. How they plan to match up against Gronk, they're keeping that in-house, they're keeping that a secret. But I think they recognize that they don't want to go too far in terms of imagination. I think they do want to try to stick to what they've done all season, which so far, to be quite honest with you, has worked very well.
Jeff, it seems whenever you're playing against a Tom Brady team, you'll take whatever information you can to help. And it seems Jacksonville's coach has done that from some youngsters there. Why don't you tell us about some of the info he's got for some first graders?
Well, right. Yeah. Doug Marrone came in actually to the press conference yesterday holding what no one really knew what it was at the time, and then made a joke essentially that, hey, I got a lot to do. I got to get through this scouting report. It was actually from the Bowles School. A bunch of first graders provided him with a book on tips of how to beat the New England Patriots. Great nuggets like eat more chicken was my personal favorite. Another one in there, make sure you look your opponent in the eye. Very sound advice, but probably the best one of all. Sack Tom Brady. So, it doesn't take a genius, right? It just takes a first grader, which, by the way, they're much smarter than I am.
Well, you're right. It's. I think everybody knows what to do, Jeff, as Jeff Darlington is with us on this hour of Golic and Wingo, which is presented or brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com at Win It Business. But that is the whole point, isn't it? Everybody knows what to do. The question is, how can they do it? Because, everybody knows we got to stop Gronk. And the only team that stopped him was Miami because he wasn't on the field. It's one thing to know what to do. The other thing is to pull it off.
Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? The one thing that I'll say, though, is that what we've seen from this defense, that youthful energy, sort of maybe naivety even, they do have the type of swagger where they're not going to let a guy like Gronk necessarily get into their head. Of course, though, we're still talking about the physical nature, the physical freak. I just think that this defense matches up well with a lot of teams, kind of like that younger years of that Seattle Seahawks group in 2012-ish, where they were just going in there and just, thumping bodies, man. They were just going in there trying to make sure that they were a violent, aggressive defense. I think that is the best, really the only plan when you do go up against such a physical presence like Gronk.
Well, Jeff, we'll see what happens. I'm very upset because normally when we have you in the playoffs, you're from Florida. We send you to these horrible weather places, and you got stuck in Jacksonville. It was so fun last year during the playoffs. We sent him to Green Bay, and you were everywhere, Jeff. We sent you just there to see you deal with the elements.
Right. Let me be very clear. It is actually 30 degrees right now. But I felt like if I wore a coat and gloves, that I would look like I just didn't want to.
Soft?
Freezing.
Soft.
Like,
that was the word you were going for. Soft, right?
Yeah, we'd have mocked you a lot if you had gloves and a coat on.
I'm soft. We all know that I'm very soft, Trey.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate you being with us, brother.
Jeff.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
I'm so looking forward to this matchup of an aggressive, fast defense, whether you're trying to run wide, which as Pittsburgh tried and failed to do, if you try the quick passes out wide, their pursuit and it's a drill defenses do all the time called the pursuit drill of running and pursuing and getting 11 hats on a ball. They do it about as good as anybody does it. Getting there, they get there because they have really good athletes and they get there in a violent way as well. So what a matchup. I really think both these games, the individual matchups that's going on, and that's what's happening. You're watching tape. You have your scheme, and as a player, you get your game plan for your side of the ball and then specific to your position. And a lot of it is game plan and recognizing formations, and what that does when you recognize a formation, it's percentages. They do this percentage of the time. They do this and this down and distance this percentage of time. So you can narrow down what you think is going to happen. And then it gets down to you get the game plan and you know it and you study it and you watch it. Then you watch the individual you're playing against. Okay, what are the little things I need to know about this person to beat them? Hand placement, foot placement, what do they like to do as opposed to how I like to get things done. Those are the matchups I love. And one of the great ones is going to be, how did he cover Gronk? Yeah. I do think they're going to try and frustrate him by hitting him. They're going to see how much they can get away with. How much can they hit him?
And the refs usually let you get away with it. It's like a hack a Shaq or a hack a Deion
We
Jordan.
will see. They'll try. That's what you do. I always say in basketball games, look for that first 5-8 minutes, how they call in the game.
Right.
And what you want out of a referee, you may not like the way they're calling it, but call it consistently. That way, at least you know how it's going to be called. So if they're mugging Gronk and they're letting him get away with it, then they're going to believe, okay, they're going to let me do this. And then if they start that's when you go to the ref and say, you didn't call this early. Now You're calling out. What are you doing? Be consistent in what you're doing. So that whether they're going to single him, double him, which I think they're going to do, they're going to try and frustrate him by hitting him. So watch that early on. Watch him getting jammed. Watch him getting hit. Watch him getting bumped, and see if he gets aggravated like he did when he tried to hit Tre'Davious White in the back of the head.
He did hit him in the back of the head.
But he did it because he was frustrated.
Right.
And a frustrated player is usually not that productive of a player when they're worrying about the person that's frustrating them more than anything else.
And again, Bill Belichick should be stepping to the microphone any moment now. And when we get the information from what he's talking about, we'll share it with you and get some enlightenment here on Tom Brady's hand injury. But the idea of what you just said, I think the two words that players in any sport hate more than anything else, situational ethics.
Yes.
If it's a penalty in the first quarter, make it a penalty in the fourth quarter. And if it's not a penalty in the first quarter, it should not be a penalty in the fourth quarter. Just let me know how you're going to call the game, whether it's balls and strikes, holding penalties or non-holding penalties, and be consistent throughout the game. And I know I can live within those parameters.
Yeah, as I said, I may not dig it, but at least I know that's the way it's going to be called. And then it's up to players to adjust to that. But it's when the officials or the referees are inconsistent, then you don't know which direction you're really going in.
Right. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be monitoring Bill Belichick. But while we're doing that, you ready for a little Grill Golic?
Let's grill me.
All right, here's the first Grill Golic question for you.
Hey, Golic. Anthony from Staten Island, New York. My question is this. I'm a huge Steelers fan, and I know they're out of the playoffs. But I want to know why. My head coach gets a pass, and Todd Haley gets abruptly fired when, are we not men? Two men cannot speak to each other. They act like preschoolers. Instead of locking them in a room and having them figure it out like men, he decides to put a buffer between. And this man still has a job. And tell me how this happens.
Well, one of the reasons it happens is the way that Pittsburgh goes about their business.
Correct.
To use Trey's stat all the time.
Since 1969.
Since 1969, there have been 4 popes and 3 coaches for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They just don't do this.
And so others go by the wayside, not the head coach. Now, again, there are a group of minority owners who have no power and no say, but they have the ear of Art Rooney II, and supposedly are saying we think Tomlin should be gone. Todd Haley, listen, the production's been there, 4 of the last 6 years, top 10.
They've been great.
Offense, third leading scoring offense this year. They put up 42 in a playoff loss. You're not really a lot of times looking at the offensive side for that, but there seemed to be some friction there from a personality side. So Haley is going to be gone, but that's one of the reasons Tomlin is not. You get some leeway. You get more in Pittsburgh. That's the way they do business, and I don't mind that at all. At some point, your run comes to an end, but it's not going to be right now for Pittsburgh, for Tomlin.
Look, no, and that's the way it always goes, and especially with a franchise that has modeled themselves as being very stable over the long term. And as for Todd Haley not being there, this is not the first time this has been an issue for Todd Haley. You know, he is a guy who is very good at his job, but sometimes certain people just rub people the wrong way. We saw that in Kansas City with Todd Haley. We see it playing out in Pittsburgh. We heard stories about that when he was on the Dallas coaching staff. So, look, there's no denying that Todd Haley was very good at the offense being productive, but working relationships matter.
Right.
And in Pittsburgh, there are certain things that you can certainly criticize Mike Tomlin for. Game management situations is one of that. But at the end of the day, the Steelers are more likely than not to always side with the person they have pointed to the head coach for a longer time than almost any other franchise in football. Yeah. You ready for another Grill Golic? Here we go.
Mr. Golic, please tell your son and Trey to stop using the phrase "to your point." It is abused. Every time they use it is a day without you having a donut. That is my challenge to you. Figure out a way to motivate them to stop saying that so you can have your donuts. Thank you.
Well, let me just say you're not going to be the one telling me I can't have my donuts.
And you know what? To your point, that's a great point.
I think it is a great point. And to your point, I think it's a great point. You know, the Twitter and or leave a message grammar police. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Don't have a lot of time for it. To your point.
There you go. To my point, thank you very much. By the way, we have an update from Bill Belichick. He was asked about the injury to Tom Brady. His response was, we gave out the injury report yesterday. We'll update it today.
Okay.
Then a question. Is it looking like Tom's going to be a game-time decision? And he gave the most Belichick answer possible. Today's Friday.
It's amazing.
And by the way, that's exactly what he should be saying.
The best thing, the toughest thing I think to do for a reporter is what question can I ask that's going to force him to give maybe not the perfect answer I want, but make him go further than he wants to go, right? That's what you're doing. If you're going in a coach that is very tough to get a good answer out of, your job now becomes, how do I phrase it so he has to give me more than he usually does? And the great coaches are the ones that figure out a way not to give you any more. And that's Bill Belichick, because he doesn't give you any more.
He has mastered the art, no question. And you're going to have to do better than that if you really want to get him off his game. All right, you want another Grill Golic?
Yes.
Let's do it.
My question for Golic is, what do you think the keys to the game are for Jacksonville pull off an upset this weekend?
Well, the keys on when New England has the ball is obviously pressure on Brady, but that's the simple part of it. It's what they've been doing all year. I'm really interested, and they'll change it up, on the master plan of covering Gronk. I think they can cover. Listen, they have two great corners, guys that can play aggressive, can play off. They're a fast defense, so I think you have difficulty with the outside plays. What are you doing with Gronk? And they're an attacking defense. So when you have an attacking defense, you never want to be on your heels. And that's what Tom Brady can be great at, is putting you on your heels. If all of a sudden Jacksonville becomes a reacting defense more than an attacking defense, that is a huge feather in the cap to New England Patriots. And they've done that before. I think it can be difficult this week because Jacksonville is excellent at all three sides of the defensive side of the ball: line, linebackers, and secondary. So I think New England's going to have a tough time getting them on their heels. That is going to be key. The other side of it is everybody says New England is going to find a way to stop Leonard Fournette. The entire year, every team you play says Blake Bortles can't beat us, so we have to stop Leonard Fournette. And they led the league in rushing. Everybody's trying to stop them from rushing, and they led the league in rushing. So you have to give them some credit, and I think it's just too easy of a statement to say, well, New England will find a way.
But that's what they do.
I know that's what I get it. And I get they're better than just about all the teams, if not all the teams out there. But this is a team who everybody in the world knows you want to run. These are professional football players out there with really good coaches around the league. And they led the league in rushing and have averaged over 160 yards in the playoffs. So I don't know if New England can completely shut that down.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What was the best way that the Titans had a chance to beat the Patriots?
Run the ball.
And how'd they do?
Didn't go so well.
There you go. And I'm not saying Derrick Henry and Leonard Fournette are equal. I'm saying Bill Belichick is always great at taking away the thing you do best. You know who's never had a great game against Bill Belichick? Arguably the greatest defensive player in the NFL over the last 5 years, J.J. Watt.
Right.
They were determined, if they're going to lose, it's going to be Whitney Merciless or Brian Cushing. Somebody else is going to beat us. The one thing they do better than anybody is they will take your strength, and that's not going to be the thing that beats you. And if it does, tip of the cap.
Right.
Tip of the cap.
Okay, we'll see.
Although Ray Rice did ones in there and tap dance him, ran an 80-yard touchdown on the first play.
Right.
And Joe Flacco, one of my favorite stat lines of ever, 4 of 10, 39 yards passing and an interception, and he gets credited with the playoff win.
It's a Blake Bortles line.
Look, if Ray Rice had like 180 in that game, he would take it. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, another update from the Bill Belichick press conference. Question: do you regret trading away Jimmy Garoppolo? Answer: we are focused on the Jaguars.
There you go.
He's better at this than anybody.
Awesome.
All right, coming up, we'll have more Grill Golic questions, plus a huge clash this weekend that isn't getting enough attention.
I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got one gig. I suck up dirt, so pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too, and an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding? I can't even do corners. Uh-oh, choking hazard.
Popcorn kernels.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Little stray cat strut with you. Brian Setzer and the gang rocking you in on a Friday. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And if you want to get a Grill Golic question in, call at 860-506-5505. Right now they're grilling Bill Belichick.
Yes, they are.
Mike, as he's at the podium on the Friday before the AFC Championship game. And obviously lots of questions are about the health of Tom Brady's hand. The responses so far by Bill have been classic Belichick.
Yes, they have.
As for Tom Brady, he said, we gave out the injury report yesterday. We'll update it today. Question, is it looking like Tom's going to be a game-time decision? Answer, today's Friday. Question, do you regret trading away Jimmy Garoppolo? Answer, we're focused on the Jaguars.
There you have it.
A clinic in how to not say anything but answer the question.
And by the way, the press conference is over.
It is over? Done? That was it?
Yeah, it's over.
All you got.
There you go.
All you got, ladies and gentlemen. But that's not all we have.
Nope.
It's obviously a big weekend in football, also a big weekend in boxing, as we have the IBF welterweight title on the line. And Teddy Atlas, our great boxing analyst and a legendary boxing trainer, is joining us here in studio. All right, Teddy, we've got Errol Spencer Jr. taking on Lamont Peterson for the welterweight title. Are these boxers that have similar styles of fights? How do you see this?
I'll try to give you a little bit more than Belichick.
Okay? I would appreciate that.
Yeah, the segment will go better if that's better. Yeah.
Actually, they're similar in style. You know, Peterson, we'll start with him, the opponent, the challenger. He likes to press the envelope behind the jab. He likes to go to the body. He likes to come forward and be the boss as much as he can. He is able to box a little bit. You know, he's no Muhammad Ali in there. He's no Pernell Whitaker in there. He can use his legs. He's going to have to use his legs. He's going to have to be able to survive at least the early rounds with this monster, this beast in front of him, because Spence is really a physical beast. I don't know how he makes welterweight. He's a big, strong guy. He's relentless with his pressure. He's going to get to you. He's going to come forward. And he's got the physical assets, the physicality, the pure strength. But he's a terrific body puncher. Like I say on the ESPN fights, he loves to put water in the basement. But this guy floods the basement. Yeah. I mean, he destroys the basement. And he wrecks the furniture, too. He's a guy that is going to get to you. And one of his greatest qualities, besides everything I just said, which is enough, is the mental side. Always has to be the mental side. I mean, that's why Brady is so good.
Right.
It's the mental side. They never lose faith. They're always reliable. They never get rattled. This is a guy that my mentor, Cus D'Amato, who I thought was the best boxing guy of all time, he used to say there was only two guys he saw with this quality, supreme confidence, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson. When I look at Spence, I see that quality, supreme confidence. Now, what's the difference, confidence, supreme confidence? The belief that there is no way on earth that you're going to beat me. I will find a way no matter what. If I got to knock the referee out and then get to the guy, whatever, I will find a way to win. I don't believe I can lose. I don't believe I can be beaten. Supreme confidence. Spence has that, and he's a beast.
So, some criticism of Spence, he hasn't faced anybody yet. Is that fair?
Not completely. I mean, it's not completely fair. He has beaten Kell Brook. Now, Kell Brook was a really solid, but how short people's memories are. They should be golfers because they would be good. You know what I mean? Yeah, you put
quarterbacks.
You put it in the woods. Hey, I'm okay. Forget it. I didn't really put it in the woods. I put it on the green. Short memory. He beat Kell Brook. Kell Brook was one of the top boxers around. Kell Brook beat Sean Porter. Kell Brook was a guy from London who fills the stadiums over there, 50,000 people, 40,000 people, and a real solid guy. But he made a mistake. Maybe not in a pocketbook, maybe not with his accountant, but he went up and he fought Golovkin at middleweight. It was too big for him,
right,
and he got knocked out. So maybe he got softened up a little bit. But Spence goes over to London in front of 50,000 or whatever was in the stadium that day, somewhere in those numbers, and he goes and he stops him in 11 rounds. He goes and knocks him out. So, yeah, he faced somebody. Again, maybe the guy was softened up a little bit by Golovkin, a big middleweight, but the guy had been an undefeated welterweight and a big welterweight. So, yeah, he's fought somebody, but you always, listen, he's only getting on the radar of the public now.
Right.
So, yeah, you still need that signature win. But here's the good news. That welterweight class, the most talented, deepest class in boxing right now. It's unbelievable. I mean, you got Thurman, you got Spence, you got Crawford, you got Garcia, you got Porter. I mean, it's an unbelievable division.
Eventually he will get tested, is what we're saying.
He's going to have to.
Yeah.
I mean, and those are all matches that are pay-per-view type matches. I mean, these are classic matches with any of those guys. So I haven't seen the welterweight division this talented, this loaded since the 80s when you had somebody named Sugar Ray Leonard,
he was
Tommy Hearns,
Tommy Hearns,
Roberto Duran,
also good,
Wilfred Benitez.
Yeah, also
tremendous.
So for those that think, how MMA has come up and maybe boxing has taken more of a backseat, is this a group led by Spence that is going to help bring boxing back into the forefront more?
You know what? That's a good question. But I don't think it has to bring it back. I think that boxing is always there. But, when it's the only knock on boxing is the consistency sometimes of the equally matched fights. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I got to give credit to Dana White and UFC, the Ultimate Fighting people, that they match their guys, but they're dictators. When you're a dictator, guess what? You could be a good matchmaker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you demand, you mandate. You say, hey, you got to fight this guy. Otherwise, get the hell out of here. Boxing, there's more options.
Right.
So guys don't want to fight each other until the big money is there. So what has happened to boxing, to a certain extent, it's become a little bit of an event-driven sport. When it's a big event, when it's an evenly matched fight, when it's Pacquiao and Mayweather, when it's a fight that gets people's imagination, where you can make an argument 50-50 that either guy could win. When that happens, well, I got to be honest, UFC and Ultimate Fighting, as great as it is, it's a pimple on the backside of boxing because everyone comes out to see the boxing match when it's the right match.
The eyeballs are always there.
Well, they are. The only thing I'll say is, let me throw back at you,
sure, go ahead.
In the era we're in, because I love what you said, and you're right. When you get into a match and you're not sure who's going to win, we saw one of the biggest pay-per-views ever, and we knew what the outcome was going to be. We absolutely knew it, but we all bought it anyway when McGregor took on Mayweather.
But that was different.
No, I know, but I guess, and I'm not saying this against boxing. I'm saying against
two different groups of fans.
Where we are now with fans, younger fans, do they want something different nowadays?
I think that I talked about the welterweight division being so good and hasn't been as good since the 80s.
Right.
The 80s was when boxing was really healthy. The last time.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I watched every one of those fights. Yeah. Every one of them.
Okay. If you ask Teddy, hey, Teddy, what's the one thing? You can name 10 things, but what's the one thing that made it that's so unbelievable? The best were fighting the best.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And there were so many of them.
Yeah, and there was so many of them. So when the best are fighting the best, this sport is at the top. Everyone comes out to watch it. And if you go ringside, you see all these whacked out celebrities, really. Yeah, I mean,
They show up. You're right. They do.
They're all there.
They all want to be there because they know all the eyes are going to be there.
Exactly.
So can boxing get back to the best fighting the best, like they're doing in UFC? Can they get back to that?
They can, of course they can get back to it. But it's a matter of the promoters, the greedy promoters, the animals that they are sometimes, that they will allow their guy, who's one of the best, fight the best and take that risk. Yeah. That's what it all comes down to. Otherwise, if you leave it up to these promoters, they're going to say, oh, no, we're going to sell it as the best fight, but we're going to make sure that our guy has a 70-30 edge because we want to continue down the road of making money. Yeah, to make a better fight if we put him in with someone else, but it might kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
Well,
they don't want to do that.
As we always say, follow the money, and that usually is where it ends
That's
up.
why I give credit to Golden Boy.
Yeah.
I'd say the last thing. I give credit to them because they went out there and they put Canelo in there with Golovkin.
Right.
And that was their golden goose.
Right.
And they could have killed it.
Right.
And they didn't.
They didn't at all. And Teddy Atlas with us, our boxing trainer, a legendary boxing trainer and our boxing analyst. Again, the fight is Saturday night. Errol Spence Jr. taking on Lamont Peterson for the IBF welterweight title.
And he will knock him out.
Knock him out? You're calling a knockout. We got a knockout call from Teddy.
Like
solid. Teddy, we appreciate you being with us.
Pleasure,
That's
guys.
the Saturday
Thanks,
night. We got a couple of titles to determine on Sunday as well, AFC and NFC championship games. We'll break those down. The best Sunday of the NFL season. All right, Goligan Wingo here with you. It is getting to that time as we're getting closer and closer to AFC and NFC Championship Sunday. Bill Belichick was at the mic earlier today at Foxborough. Obviously, he was peppered with questions about what's wrong with Tom Brady's hand, and obviously his answers were very Belichickian in the best possible way. He was asked about Tom Brady's hand. He said, we gave out the injury report yesterday. We'll update it today. Someone asked, is it looking like Tom's going to be a game-time decision? Bill's response, today's Friday. Another question, do you regret trading away Jimmy Garoppolo? Bill's response, we are focused on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So now the question becomes, will Brady practice today, and will he be on the practice field, and will he say anything after practice?
That's he again, as you mentioned twice, he's supposed to talk and he has not. And if he goes up there, everybody's going to want to look at his hand as well. Is he going to be up there with gloves? It's amazing. To me, at the end of the day, he's going to go out and he's going to play. It's just a matter of how effective and what's hurt and how, as I mentioned, how effective he can be.
All right. Outside of these four teams competing in the championship, everybody's thinking about next year already.
Yes, they are.
One of those teams is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
They thought they'd be playing this Sunday. They talked about it a lot. Among those people that talked about it, running back Le'Veon Bell, who tweeted last Saturday night, I love round twos. We have 2 twos in a row. Well, that's all great. They didn't get to the second round two against the Patriots because they lost round 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But now this report is coming out. Le'Veon Bell said he will retire or walk away. He doesn't want the franchise tag. But according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, not only did Le'Veon Bell arrive much later for the game, for the playoff game against Jacksonville, he missed practically the entire Saturday walkthrough the day before, showing up about 5 minutes before practice ended. Mike, that's a walkthrough before a playoff game.
And to go along with the game, most teams, the teams I were on, you had to be there 2 hours before the game. They wanted you in the locker room. Tomlin wants players and coaches to report, same thing, 2 hours before kickoff. That was continually ignored by both players and a coach or two. And then we go into the thing, where Bell arrived much later than that for the playoff game of the 2 hours, and then showed up for walkthrough with about 5 minutes ago. Inexcusable. Yeah. And I'm just, listen, as I've always said, the better you are, the more leash you're going to get. So, you're going to sit Le'Veon Bell. Certainly as a team, you can fine him for those kind of things, and maybe Tomlin does find these players that are showing up late. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know the answer to that. I think certainly you don't want them off the field, as we found out with Odell Beckham a couple of years ago, with Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin didn't take him off the field, because he's your best player. You want him on the field, and you don't want to take Le'Veon Bell off the field. But boy, oh boy, I mean, with Mike Tomlin, you think of discipline and hardcore, and that's what you think of as the outside looking in. But, remember players were speaking out, complaining that practices were too hard at times, there were too much hitting. The players do an awful lot of talking there, more than you would think at times. And this, arguably I think he's the best player on the team in Le'Veon Bell, set up for a monster deal, but certainly seems to be going by his own agenda a bit.
Look, and you can't have that. Look, Ron Rivera last year as a head coach of the Carolina Panthers did not let Cam Newton start because he didn't wear a tie on a flight. So every coach has their degree of the line you're not crossing. Yep. The fact that this line was allowed to cross is really interesting.
Surprising to me, especially if it's if the 2 hours for the game if that's regularly broken. Is that now again?
The fact that they felt that it could be broken.
I'm not in that locker room, so I don't know how a lot of it works. But I mean, obviously, if it's happening, you're allowing it to happen. Because you're not doing enough of a deterrent to stop it from happening.
As our Herm Edwards used to say, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Right.
And it certainly seems like that was allowed to happen. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Especially if they put the tag on him, on Le'Veon Bell.
Which I think they're going to.
I think they're going to as well.
So we'll deal in that as we get forward to looking ahead, but we still got a couple of games to get to, and let's start right now. Conference championship time to pick them. Jags at Pats. Kick it off. Patriots -7.5. Who do you got?
All right. You know what? As a former, maybe I'm doing this because I'm a former defensive player, but I'm so buying into the Jacksonville defense. And I just think for what New England likes to do, and they do it well, Jacksonville matches up. Jacksonville's got D-line that can rush the passer just for athletic linebackers and really good cover corners. They match up. The big matchup will be with Rob Gronkowski. They're going to get to Tom Brady and the four-man rush. The New England's not going to be able to run wide, in my opinion, or throw wide. This defense is too fast, too athletic, and too aggressive. Not only will 7.5 for the points, or not only will I take the points, Jacksonville's going to win this game.
You're calling
Jacksonville is going to New England. I picked the Patriots to make the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, so they make it. I picked them, but I'm going with what I see right now. And I think Jacksonville, I think they're going to be able to run. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I know the Patriots do so well at cutting, taking your best away. Jacksonville is the number one rushing team. I don't know if they get a ton of yards, but I think they get enough to make that running game effective. Jacksonville gets the win.
So you've just covered your bets, basically, because you picked the Patriots before the season began, and now you're picking the Jags to win. So you could either way, you can say, I called it.
Well, it would be
I called it either way.
Be kind of bad if the Patriots win and I say I called it, even though the week ago I predicted them to love. But yes, I'm picking Jacksonville.
It's a fluid line with Mike. It's
Jacksonville
a fluid line.
Wins the game.
All right. Well, look, I love Jacksonville, and there's a large part of me, especially with now this little cloud of intrigue around Brady's hand, wants me to go there. But it's like betting against Alabama. They were down 13-0, and they made a quarterback change at halftime of the national championship. Alabama won. I'm going with the Patriots, and I also am going to give the points. I will take the Patriots. And that leads us to the Vikings at the Eagles, Philadelphia, and underdog again.
Underdog, number one, top seed in the conference, underdogged again. I love the Vikings defense. What's not to love? I love the receivers route running. I love Kyle Rudolph in the red zone, and we love what Case Keenum has done all year. But I also love what the Eagles have done as a team. I know they don't have Carson Wentz, but from the O-line to the D-line, they controlled that game last week. They can control the lines of scrimmage. They've done it well. This is my flat-out win. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles going to the Super Bowl to play Jacksonville.
He'll be playing Fly, Eagles Fly at his house all day Sunday. Well, I guess to counteract that, I'm going with Minnesota.
Okay.
I think they're going to be that team that is the first team ever to play a Super Bowl in their home stadium. We'll find out who's right.
Yes, we will.
We know you're covered when it comes to the AFC.
Yeah,
we'll break it all down on Monday. Enjoy Championship Sunday, everybody.
Hater.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more. Like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick. Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.